Hi, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for that introduction. So I see a few people have joined. Let's get going. Since this session is 1 hour, probably we'll have a discussion of 1 hour or just below that. And I would like to hear any questions that you may have. So I'm sort of recovering from a cold, so you might hear me cough every now and then, but I don't think that will interrupt the session at much. Right, so welcome to this session, Marketing, Art or Science. So we wanted to do this session, which is different to the type of marketing we normally maybe discuss in a classroom or discuss in a workplace. We wanted to think about marketing as a concept and what can you do. So I believe many of you who are currently participating in this session are either students of marketing or will be doing marketing or sales as a profession, or you are maybe just curious about what marketing is all about. So this session is to sort of guide you through that journey. Just before we get started, guys, I think a couple of requests, questions, please feel free to engage in the session. I know since it's online, it's easier to keep your mic switched off or the video switched off, but the session will be more interesting and memorable to you the more you engage. Since I am anyway talking, I will remember the session. But I would encourage you all to talk and engage also, because the moment you ask a question or the moment you share an idea, that way you will also start remembering the things that we discuss and how others respond to your thoughts and questions and also. Also, kind request to keep your videos on throughout the session if that is possible. That way I can look at your face. I can see if you are understanding me or if you're hearing me, all those. So those are my two requests. First, to keep engaging, you can unmute and talk or even post a message or an answer or an idea on the chat. The second one is try to keep your video switched on. That will be very useful for us to conduct the session. Also, languages wise, I will use English to conduct or to talk to you, but I speak and I understand Sinhalese and Tamil also. So if you have any question in Sinhala or Tamil, feel free to ask, right? So no problem whatsoever. Right. So what I will do is, I will share my screen. Of course, I don't have a lot of slides. I think I have a total of 5 or 6 slides. And I don't have even one single text that I typed in. Most of those are images and icons just to guide our discussion. And then we will discuss about multiple angles of this. Right. So with that said, let's get into the topic. Marketing, is it an art or a science? So this is what you are here to talk about. I won't use the word learn because this is not a lecture hall or anything like that. We are here to discuss if marketing is an art or a science, or is it a bit of a both, and so on. So in that topic, I think just before we get the discussion rolling, I would like to hear from you. All of you are participants in this session. I believe most of you are in Sri Lanka or have lived in Sri Lanka at some point. Some of you all might be living overseas, or some of you all might be from foreign countries. I would like you all to share your thoughts about what you think is a good marketing campaign. I don't want the answer saying art or science, of course, no. I want you all to share, maybe you can unmute and talk about it, or share on the chat about what do you remember as a good marketing campaign, right? Sometimes when we go on social media, we look at something and we read the comments, people saying, Shah, nice marketing. In Sinhalese, people say, Mekana maru marketing, right? So likewise, any campaigns, any messages, any advertisements that have stuck in your head. Can any of you share anything like that? I'll give you all a couple of minutes to get your maybe either cameras warmed up or your mics, your voices warmed up, or even your fingers warmed up to type on the chat. As we start this session on marketing, is it art or science? I would like to just get your understanding as to some memorable advertisements, memorable marketing campaigns which you remember from the recent past.
Can I speak?
Yeah, please do.
I still remember the Coca-Cola advertisement. Yes, coin into the machine and they show inside how the bottle is getting prepared and comes to you to collect. It was like a long back commercial done by Coca-Cola.
The whole journey of how the bottle
So like
comes to
nice
your
to see
hand.
like inside there. Yeah.
Yes, that's one good memorable. It's not recent, it's a while ago. I'm surprised that you remember that, Zafar. Anything else? Anyone else? What do you remember? The chat is also open. Just want you all to think about this also.
Red Bull, Red Bull, they did a campaign like it gives you wings. It was so famous, like everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, again, a super campaign. It was a bit cartoonish, a bit childish, you can say. Whereas as a frog, a person comes and gives them some Red Bull, and the frog suddenly becomes a prince and gets wings and flies away, right? But Red Bull kept on doing it, and now if you think what gives you wings, Red Bull gives you wings. It's almost stuck in our mind. So how does a few people, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people sitting in a room or sitting in front of a table or in front of a laptop, create a strong memory like that, right? Another thing that I always say in line with Zafar's previous example, Coca-Cola, the moment I say, tell me a brand that starts with red, most of you will say Coca-Cola as one of your top 3 choices. How does Coca-Cola retain that color red so powerfully? What do they do? Right? These are all things that we would want to think about, talk about in this session. Any other thoughts? Right. Hariharan has said the Ratti ad. For those who don't remember, don't know what is Ratti ad. So the best part is Ratti and Anchor, the 2 full cream milk, probably 2 biggest full cream milk powder brands in Sri Lanka, coming from the same company called Fonterra. Now, Anchor talks about New Zealand cows, foreign, the lush green environments, the health of the cows and the milk and all that. Whereas Ratti talks a very different message. It possibly can be the same marketing team handling both brands. But the way how different 2 brands are in our mind, starting from the name, Ratti is a Sri Lankan name, a typical name for a Sri Lankan cow. Of course, we don't have people that we call Ratti. Normally, Ratti is a name that we give for animals, mostly cows. And then what have they told? Nuwanakara aya gannema Ratti. The ones who are smart will buy Ratti. So, and that goes on and on and on and on. And up to a point, you now start believing, yes, Ratti is a smart choice. Even if someone comes and tells you, no, Ratti is bad. Of course, I'm not saying it like that. But even if another friend comes and tells you Ratti is bad or something like that, you will still say, no, look, Ratti is good. Subconsciously, you don't have facts to say why Ratti is good. But that advertising has given you that impression. Right. Thank you, Hariharan, for that. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Any other
Recent
aspect?
advert like Unilever presence on TV, signal කාටත් කියන්න රැටත් දත් මදින්න.
Yes, that's also another good ad, right? So I'm happy that you brought up Signal because I work at Unilever and Signal is one of our big brands. So Signal is, of course, I think Sri Lanka's largest toothpaste brand. I might be wrong factually, but definitely one of the top 2, if not the largest toothpaste brand in the country. And so what has Signal said? Kāටත් කියන්න රැටත් මදින්න. So now, this is also a concept which I want you all to think. What are they doing? Why are they wanting me to brush at night? right? Very thankful for Dilum Anthony for bringing it up, because it's again a very conceptual thing you can think about. Now, usually as a marketer or as a businessman that is selling products or services, how can you earn more money? There are two ways only. You should either get your existing customers to buy more of your product, or you should get new customers to try your product and start buying it. That's the two ways that marketers always target. And whatever we call art or science or advertising and all that is aimed at that. So in this premise, Signal thought, of course, we are one of the leading toothpaste brands in Sri Lanka. It's harder for us to get more people to now brush using Signal, because we are already leading the market. We have a good share. So what can we do? We can promote our current users to use us more. Of course, this comes with the brand's promise. Now, those who remember, Signal always talks about Sinaboveva, about protecting the Sri Lankan smile as its brand's promise. I'll tell you what this brand promise and all that as we go on. So in line with that, it is also sort of social service. Why even dentists recommend you need to brush at night. Right? It's not like Signal is lying to people to get more sales or anything like that. It's also health-wise beneficial. Of course, it's also business-wise good for the brand. So that is another thing that is a very strong campaign, whereas you have families, the family settings, where the parents are also brushing teeth, and then there is a competition run along with it for those who brush twice a day for 21 days. Since I mentioned it, what is this 21 days also, you might ask. So normally now here we are sort of going into psychology. I am still talking about the whole Signal campaign about brushing twice. Katat kiyanna ratat madina. Normally psychologically, there is a theory. It says for a person to start having any habit, normally it takes 21 days or 21 exposures. Of course, addictive habits are different. I'm talking about a non-addictive habit. Maybe studying, maybe reading a book, working out, and in this case, brushing teeth. So it says the moment someone does it 21 times continuously, they will most probably continue to do it forever. Right? So I think that is the science behind the Signal's creative ad telling you, okay, do this for 21 days. Right? So some of these things which we would like to talk about. And just like now, there were 3 or 4 ads mentioned, or more than ads, 3 or 4 campaigns that were mentioned. And for each, I sort of gave you an explanation. I sort of gave you my point of view. For an example, if we have an employee of Coca-Cola here, they might be able to clarify further. And sometimes some of the thing they'll say, no, this was never what the brand thought. Sometimes the creators of the Signal campaign might come and tell, no, we just picked 21 days for the fun of it. No other reason, right? But the knowledge you gain and the way your brain now starts working, the moment you start thinking about what you see. Now, that is what is important for our topic. So when we are talking about marketing, is it an art or a science? It is very important that you think about it in that sense. Whenever you are exposed to marketing, most of us think marketing is only advertising. That is not the case. Towards the end of today's session, I will show you multiple ways how marketing is executed. Right, I'm not going to do a theory session of like how to do market planning. I will just show you how do you bring marketing to life towards the end. For those who are already in marketing, there is this thing called the marketing mix. That is what I'm trying to tell. But for those who are new, don't worry, I will take you through what that is. So you need to start thinking, right? How is this company bringing this brand to life? So at the outset, if any of you all want to keep an eye on a new brand that has just come out, where you will see a lot of marketing in future, one brand you can keep an eye out is a very new brand launched by Unilever called Rexona soap. right? So Rexona used to be a deodorant brand in Sri Lanka, and the older people who were born before 2000s or born in the early 1990s might remember there used to be a different type of Rexona soap. So this is very different to that. So sort of it's almost a new soap brand. So these days you'll see a lot of discussion, a lot of campaigns being built around it. It was only launched last month. So that's something to keep an eye out. Right. Anyway, with that, please keep your messages coming in the chat. I'm very happy that already a couple of you unmuted and spoke, which is very nice. It shows that you all are generally engaged. So keep it going. Again, feel free. Any language is totally fine. Okay. So in our discussion of marketing, is it an art or a science? Let me first take you through an example of how artistic can marketing become. So I'm going to show you some videos throughout this session. I just want you all to think about the thought process I initiated in the beginning. Whenever you see an ad, so of course, since we are doing a session, I will be showing you mostly advertising. But whenever you see an ad, whenever you see a product, just think about, okay, what is the marketing team trying to do out of it, right? So let me now share my video. So this is a campaign done by McDonald's some time ago, I think around 6 or 7 years ago. This is when McDonald's launched, of course, in Sri Lanka, we didn't have it. McDonald's launched a burger by the name of Maestro Burger. Of course, when you hear Maestro, something that we always remember is like a concert setting, right? Maestro, musical, musician type of thing. So when they launched it, they could have simply done a TV advertisement or done something else and or given a beautiful product or started a given free concert tickets for a musical show or something like that. But everyone does that. Now, these were the creativity of marketing I want to show you. And sometimes you'll realize as Sri Lankans, how somewhat behind we are sometimes in being creative. We have a term now called out of the box thinking. Sometimes we are very slow in the way we think and the way we start selling things. Let's take a look at this video. I've also shared sounds. I will switch off my mic and video for the course of the video. Let's look at it, let's enjoy it, and then let's come back to the discussion.
Oké, daar komt ze aan. De camera is open. Komt die video?
Oké, het is makkelijk. Hey, goedemiddag. Mag ik die maestro?
Ja.
Kijk, de maestro. Ja. What's your name? Lady with the red hair, what is your name? Oh my god, yes, I'm talking to you. Dit? Ja, hey, hallo. Ja, jij? Don't eat a burger yet. First tell me your name. With your golden chain. Tell me your name.
Axel.
Maaike, mijn naam is Jane.
And the no nerve is about to begin. Jane, just let it all in. Tell me your taste, not standing all the time.
All right, so now, of course, I do understand when there are videos being shared, sometimes there are small glitches. I think the I was checking out on my phone also, it was quite smooth. But talking about this campaign, so now of course it's not an ad or anything like that. It's something that they've done, which they've recorded and put on YouTube for the world to see. So when they launched this burger, normally in Sri Lanka, when McDonald's used to be there, you see the new photo of the burger comes all around. They send you SMSs, they send you WhatsApp messages. There's a lot of social media marketing. There are some billboards, TV advertisements, and all that. But everyone is competing for that space. When you look at one TV ad, there are 5 other TV ads. When you look at one social media advertisement, you see multiple others. So what did they do? They wanted to give people that maestro experience, and that is why they had this one-to-one engagement. They set up a small concert hall just next to this main branch that they picked for the project, and then they actually got people engaged. And then when you have experience like that, when you are having the first bite of this newly launched burger, the whole that beautiful upbeat track, 10 million taste buds singing a song, that whole thing brings in a lot of memory and a lot of adrenaline in yourself. You feel very happy. So this dealing with people's emotions effectively is what we essentially call the art of marketing. How can you be creative? How can you, to use a technical word, attack people's memory structures so they remember you more? Normally, they say for a person to remember something, it needs to be attached with an emotion. Doesn't only have to be happiness. There can be sadness, there can be anger, there can be frustration. Remember, all these tools are also used by politicians during an election campaign, right? You can think about different campaigns. Of course, it doesn't have to be brands and products or anything. Political campaigns also very strong, right? It's all about setting in a strong emotion so people will now remember what this ad, what this message is all about. However, if you only do emotional marketing but don't give people any substance, important data, then people will remember the creativity of the ad, but they might not link it very strongly to your brand. Now, this is where we come for the topic of the science behind marketing. In our topic of is marketing and art or science, I'm going to give you an example as to, okay, what can science in marketing be? Before I show you a video or anything like that, let me first ask you all to think about some Sri Lankan brands, right? I'm going to use a couple of scientific elements, but I will give it to you as examples. Those of you, I'm sure most of you use PickMe and Uber as apps, right? I'm just going to put the 2 apps on the chat. Based on what you prefer the most, you all might use for ride hailing or for Uber Eats, Pick Me Food, or parcel sharing, Pick Me Flash, Uber Zip. There are multiple names that they call. No, do you prefer using Pick Me the most, or do you prefer using Uber the most? Right? These are random survey. You can just go to my message on the chat and react accordingly, right? You can put a heart or anything. What do you prefer using most? So far, it's a close battle, but now Uber is leading. Right? So don't think too much. Simply, if I'm telling you both apps are giving you the same benefits and the same price or same rider or whatever, what would you pick? Okay, so I have around 29. When we started, it was around 15 or 16. Now there are 29. Out of the 29, so far it's a clear win for Uber. 11 versus 7. Right? So others, I would expect you to vote as well. What do you think? What do you prefer? Right? So now Now, I did this poll also with confidence that Uber might get a lot of votes. Right now, it is almost tie. Pick Me is 9, Pick Me is 10, whereas Uber is 11. So usually, now even here, Uber is still leading, right? Usually Uber wins, right? Now, of course, I know the founders of Pick Me, right, quite well. Right? It's almost family friends sometimes. I also know there's a lot of discussion around Pick Me being a Sri Lankan brand and the fact that we have to support it. All that is there, but I'm looking at from a consumer's perspective. One thing that possibly Pick Me is doing wrong, I'll tell you what it is. We have in our brains, human beings in our brains have this concept called loss aversion. What is loss aversion? Right, I will type that word on the chat so that you can make note of it if you want to. Loss aversion means human beings, we don't want to lose, right? We don't want to miss out on things. We don't want to see a lot of deductions happening from our cash balance. So that way, in marketing and in psychology of marketing or the science of marketing, there is a famous concept says you need to segregate gains and you need to merge the losses. What does it mean? When you are trying to give people something useful, break it up. It's okay. First, you give them a 10% off. Then on top of that, give them another 5% off. On top of that, give them another 2% off. That's okay. But when you are charging from them, don't do that. People will see it as a pain. Of course, people know it's the same amount that is getting deducted. But when you see, okay, VAT 15%, NBT 2%, this percent, that service charge 10%, you feel, my God, so much of deductions. So same thing when I've used both Pick Me and Uber, I've seen that in terms of the Pick Me, how the fare is calculated, and the Uber, how the fare is calculated, Uber sometimes gives you a more direct figure. And Uber most of the time puts some other bigger number, cuts it off and puts a smaller number. Of course, now Pick Me is also doing it increasingly, but Uber was the first to do it from my memory. So then what happened? People started, of course, the apps are mostly the same, everything is the same. But people in their minds, they felt something is better in Uber. Sometimes people even don't feel good to say it because people know Uber is the international brand and Pick Me is a Sri Lankan brand and all that. But we have this, okay, this loss aversion sometimes affecting our decision making, right? So that's one way to think about the whole science. Another thing is we call anchoring. That's another science-based thing I want to share. So what does anchoring mean? Doesn't nothing to do with anchor milk or anything like that. What does anchoring mean is when you see something for the first time, you sort of use it as your comparator, the thing that you start comparing everything else with. A classic example is when you have a first crush or a first boyfriend or a girlfriend. Now, if you are going into your second relationship soon after your first relationship, what happens? You start comparing, no? This person had this person doesn't have this. This person had that, this person doesn't have that. So this happens even when we buy products. A good classic example is imagine you're going to a shopping mall, let's say a Majestic City or a Liberty Plaza or a Unity Plaza. Let me tell, I'm going to buy a Bluetooth speaker. I'm going to Liberty Plaza. The first shop tells me, now I don't know how much is a Bluetooth speaker. The first shop tells me I can get a good Bluetooth speaker for 5,000 rupees. The moment I go to the second shop, now they're telling me, no, the good ones are 15,000 onwards. I'm immediately now thinking the second shop is lying to me. I won't think that the first shop guy might have lied to me. But I have the same size. One guy told me 15, one guy told me 5, right? So that way we start comparing. And imagine if I need to make some money out of Liberty Plaza, I will put 2 or 3 shops next to each other, selling the same things. The first shop will do the anchoring, right? Again, in my Bluetooth speaker example, When a customer comes to the first shop, I will ask the sales boy to tell 5,000. When they go to the second shop, I will tell them it is 5,000, but Sir Hinda, because of you, I will give it to 4,800, the same brand. Now comes to my third shop. In the third shop is when I'm going to tell my actual price that I have in mind, which is say 4,000. Now, the moment they hear 4,000, they're seeing the same brand, 5,000, 4,500, and now 4,000. They realize, okay, 4,000 is the best offer. Let me buy it immediately. Whereas in my first shop, if I said 4,000, they will always go further. They will check for some more. They'll say, let me check some more and come. So this anchoring we see a lot. So these are how science works in marketing. So I don't know if shops in Liberty Plaza, if you all are in Colombo, Kolpiti, Vellavatta, that area, you would have gone to Liberty Plaza. I don't know if shops in Liberty Plaza are already doing that, where the first shop is, they don't expect sales. It is just to do the anchoring. And the second and the third shops is where people start buying. I don't know, but if I am having 3 shops, that is what I will do, right? So this is another concept. So in addition to these psychological things, scientific things about human brain, human behavior, how does human logic works, another thing that we talk under the science of marketing is the importance of data, especially in a social media world. How do you look at the right data, the right information to do your marketing? Right. So here is when I'm coming to my video on the science of marketing, because when I do sessions, I like to use a lot of videos, case studies, so that you will start thinking about it. Remember, when we started, I told you one key takeaway from this session is you need to start thinking about these sessions, the things, the campaigns that we talk about. In Australia, the brand Coca-Cola had a challenge where the younger people started or stopped buying Coca-Cola. So they want to bring something new. Of course, Coca-Cola never talks about how healthy the product is. No, they never talks about how economical the brand is. They always talks about celebration, happiness, partying, all that. So I'm now going to share a video of what did Coca-Cola do when it comes to reaching more young people, right? Gen Zs or millennials, both age segments. How did they start reaching that audience more? Sorry. This. Hope you can see my screen. Yes.
Last September, in the dead of night, the world's most iconic brand did the unthinkable and took an entire country by surprise. 150 of Australia's most popular names appeared on millions of bottles of Coke. Why? Because in the previous month alone, 50% of teens and young adults hadn't even tasted a Coke. We had to reconnect with Australia, so we decided to get personal. The internet blew up straight away, but we kept quiet. And while the buzz grew and grew, we recruited our fans and made them the face of our campaign. Then, on Australia's highest rated media weekend, we came clean and invited Australians all over to share a Coke.
Kate and Kate, the 2 Kates. Classy Kate. Crazy Kate. If you know a Kate, share a Coke with Kate, or Mel, or Dave, or Jane.
Our message was everywhere, digitally and interactively at Sydney's iconic Coke billboard. Whichever way you turned, it was you and your friends up in lights. The media instantly took notice. Blogs lit up. Australia had fallen in love.
Coca-Cola.
Sharing a Coke. Thousands of requests poured in for more names, but we were ready. With kiosks where you could get any name printed on a Coke can, people couldn't get enough, queuing for hours. But the requests kept flooding in. So we put it to a vote and asked Australia who they wanted to share a Coke with most. And after 65,000 people got their say, 50 new names were released. We invited everyone to share a Coke, and share they did. Whether old or young, drinkers or non-drinkers, friends searched for names, tagged one another, shared stories. Australians everywhere were once more connecting over the world's most iconic brand. And with the holidays looming, we celebrated and shared a Coke with a friend who brings a smile to every face. In just 3 short months, 5% more people were drinking Coke. Sales transactions grew by 3%, volume increased by 4%, and 870% increase in Facebook traffic, 12,020,000 earned media impressions, 76,000 virtual Coke cans shared, 378,000 extra Coke cans printed at kiosks, and one country painted red. With one simple tweak to a label, Coke once again became part of popular culture.
So now that is how the science can be used. You look at data, you see who are not using, right? Normally, if you're not looking at data, what would the discussion be, right? Our sales are going down. We don't know who is buying. Let's just put some more ads and do more creative advertisements. This Christmas campaign will make it even more creative. Let's try to bring in an alien instead of becoming Santa, right? These are some ideas. If it's just targeting to be only on creative basis. If you are looking at the scientific side, the numbers also, you now realize, okay, the younger people are not buying Coke. So how can we appeal to the younger people? Now, both of the ads I showed you, the Maestro Burger one and the Coke one, had the other element also. So now, even in the Coke advertisement, you saw the creative, you saw the art of it. Why people like to see a can or a bottle with their name on. It's something emotional, it's something personal, but you do it with something that young people like. Sharing a Coke. So, but that way, what a boy who has a crush on a girl would buy a Coca-Cola instead of a rose or something with her name on, right? You print your name and you can take it. So that way you can post something on your stories. You can use it on social media. That way Coca-Cola gets free publicity. So this is how they use the scientific side of using numbers and logic to figure things. So essentially, now when we look at both, you see there are artistic elements in campaigns as well as logical elements in the said campaigns. What you realize is they can't just have one and be successful. If it is only artistic, as I told you, what happens? People will stop remembering what your campaign was about. If it was only logical, people will not remember it at all. Like a advertisement or a campaign coming and saying, okay, buy one, get one free. Or it just says 20% off. Everyone gives you 10% off, 15% off, 20% off. Every day I get a message from some bank or the other saying, for my bank card, you get this off. For this, you're getting free. When I open Uber Eats, there are around 20 restaurants giving so many discounts, right? Those are all logical or science of marketing. But if you merge it with the art of marketing, that is where you sort of join the both. So, and the word I want to coin, or I want you all to remember, what happens when you join both is what we call purpose-driven marketing. So if you are to do marketing with purpose, now sometimes there's a notion that, okay, marketing is easy. You just need to open a Facebook page and put some posts and boost it, and then people will come and buy your product. Not really. You need to get the artistic side right, as well as the logical side right, and give people something purposeful. And that is why we call this purpose-driven marketing. So at the center of purpose-driven marketing, we have an important concept called the brand promise. Now, what does a brand promise to offer the consumers is what the brand promise says. Normally, a brand promise is developed using what we call consumer insights. Consumer insights. What do consumers want? So then we realize now consumers want things in two ways, right? They either want the creative side of things of your product and your services. They also want to know the logical side. They want to know for the creative side, they want to know, okay, why do you do business? What is the benefit that they have emotionally? Why do I believe in your brand and so on? Whereas for the logical side of things, they want to know, okay, what is the price benefit? What is the product quality and things like that as well. So together, we need to form the brand promise. So in doing this, the logical sides of a brand promise of understanding what the consumers want, you see, okay, what are the functional benefits? How should your product perform, right? Or how should your brand perform is one benefit. The other benefit is economic, mostly financial, but also can be time, effort, and all that. So that is why you say, I got a very good product, but at a very good price. So this is where your brand promise needs to think about the logical side of things, such as the benefits, the quality, as well as the economics, the financials, as well as the effort, the time given, and all that. That is why sometimes, even though we go to a very cheap restaurant, we don't like to go there again and again because they take a lot of time. Of course, I can get a rice and curry for 200 rupees, but they take 1.5 hours to send it. Therefore, I don't like it. Right? So economic benefits are multiple. Then if you have to look at, okay, what are the artistic side? These is what I told you, emotional benefits. How do you make the people feel, or how do the people want to feel? That's another thing. Now, a couple of years ago, Sri Lanka had this movement called the Aragalaya. When that happened, people didn't want to be feeling happy or proud about the governments or anything. No. At that time, if a politician comes and launches a campaign music video, no one will go and watch it. Whereas a couple of years later, the same country, the same audience are rallying around different political parties based on their campaigns and so on. So during the Aragalaya time, if you share something about unity is power, Sri Lanka can rise, now people are very emotionally getting attached to it. So this is how you use emotions. And when people are down, how do you bring them up? How do you show now? How do you make them feel is a very strong thing. Without talking further about this, I'll show you one video. Again, it is coming from a Unilever brand about how this feel was brought. Of course, after we look at the video, we will talk about how did this brand merge both science and art, right? So before we get into that discussion, I will show you this video. So this is coming from a brand called Sunlight. I'm sure you all know what Sunlight is. However, apart from when I share the screen, you all will see the file name. That is how you'll know it's Sunlight. But apart from that, until the very end, you don't see Sunlight being mentioned anywhere. So I want you all to now start figuring out how did Sunlight do it. As you watch the video, think about the artistic side of this campaign as well as the logical side, the scientific side of this campaign. Let me share my screen. I think the sound wasn't coming. No, let me share again. Sound was shared. Anyway, let me share again.
හදවත් පුරා හිරුපායන්නේ හදදොරටු වැර සැම එක් වන්නේ එක්වන්න උණුසුම ගැනදී හුස්මක් දෙන්න
Mage Sri Lanka, Mage Jayabhumi, Hivi Hivi and Rakaganini, Manudambiya Mankarami,
எனது ஸ்ரீலங்கா எனது ஜெயபூமி திவி இவி என்ற ககனினி மனதம்பிய வன்கரை අදහස් ආහස මිසන උදහස් මදහස් ගංගක අපි වී නිදහස් හදවත්තුර හැරතබනා නිවහන සැම පිළිගන්නා මනුදම්විය මන් කරනා මව්බිම අප ජයගන්නා Mage Sri Lanka, Mage Jayabhumi, Hivi Hivi and Rakaganini, Manudambiya Mankarani, Yenadu Sri Lanka, Yenadu Jayabhumi, Manudambiya Mankarani, Anmane Dinirani, Hadavattura Haravana, Nivahana Samapiriganna, Manudambiya Mankarana, Sri Lanka Manudambiya Savimakkarana sunlight.
Right. So now that is another famous campaign by Sunlight. I'll tell you when it came out now. Now, Sunlight did this when there was the Easter attacks. This video came out in 2019. So in 2019, when there was Easter attacks and there was a lot of tension within the society, why there was curfews, there were social media blockages every now and then, people were getting aggressive, people didn't know whom to trust, whatnot. Then now Sunlight, I want you all to think, why did Sunlight do it also? Sunlight came up with this whole concept of Manudam Viyamana, that's what they call it, the silk or the weave of mankind. And they, in that video, so the last message they carried was, my home and my heart is open to every Sri Lankan. And within that video, there were a lot of elements to bring that togetherness. Now, I want you all to think and maybe bring it to the chat or unmute. What were the observations that you had when we looked at it? How do you define the scientific elements? Of course, there was not one single message of buy more Sunlight soap. No, it didn't say buy more Sunlight liquids or nothing. Then why would Sunlight do it? Spending a lot of money. You see, there were a lot of celebrities, there were a lot of locations where the video was shot, there were drone shots, all those. Why would a brand spend so much money on a campaign like that for this, right? Let me hear some thoughts. What do you all think? Any thoughts? Right. So it was emotional marketing, something that Shelani is sharing. So it was emotions, it was bringing out the multiple cultures, it was bringing up the different languages. You see the Muslim girl falling asleep on a Buddhist monk in the bus. You see a Hindu boy picking up a book that was dropped by a Buddhist looking old lady. And why would now Sunlight do it? Thank you, Dhanabalan. You said the marketing was carried out for a purpose of togetherness. Now, that is the brand promise. Thank you very much for bringing it up. It is a promise that the brand is now starting to communicate. The message of togetherness. Now, why would Sunlight do that is my question. Why would Sunlight start communicating brand togetherness? What do you all think? Now with time, let me answer this because the soap is used in every home, spot on. Because now Sunlight, compared to many other brands in the country, has access to almost every single household. If I talk about a brand like Toyota, it doesn't have access to every single household. If I talk about a brand like Atlas, it might still not have access to every single household. Right? Atlas might be there where people are studying or working or something like that. Whereas now Sunlight, soap, hygiene products are there in every house. So now Sunlight believes it is its responsibility for Sri Lanka's togetherness. And now that is the brand promise, where it is not talking about heavily economic benefits. It is not talking about a lot of functional benefits per se, but it is bringing in a lot of memory structures through the right emotional benefits, showing how common it is to everyone, right? So that way, there are lots of advertisements you can think about. Very recently, probably yesterday or within the past few days, those who remember a very old ad in Sri Lanka from Ninja mosquito coils. There's a famous advertisement where a boy walks in and there are two girls. They're talking about a hostel. There are two girls and the girls are asking the boy, do you have some mosquito coils? Back in the day, people used to have coils instead of the sprays or the vaporizers that we have now. And the boy says, yes, I have, and gives the entire packet of coils. So it was a series of videos that were done. Now, the brand has now sort of recreated that same concept and put it out now. And they've also brought in some memory structures from that old ad which came around 25 years ago. They used the same stars, the same actors and actresses who were featuring in that ad, even in this new ad. That way now people will both realize the functional benefits. Now that ad is a very creative way of showing both art and science. Because of that, let me quickly share the two videos. While it's two different generations, now these are short videos, just 30 seconds only, but they are leaving a very lasting impression. Right, here you go. Let's take a look at these two ads. Right, the first one is the old ad from 1998.
ඔන්න එනවා. මේ මදුරු කොයිල් එකක් තියෙනවද?
ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පැය කීයක් පත් වෙන එකක් දෝන්නේ?
මේ අපිට ඕනේ පැය 10කටත් වැඩිය පත් වෙන එකක්.
දෙන්නම්. දැක්කනේ. පැකට් එකේම ගහලක් තියෙනවා.
නින්ජා පැය 10කටත් වඩා දැල්වේ.
ඒගොල්ලෝ පැකට් එකම ගත්තනේ.
So that is the first ad. It has that nice whistle hum, which repeated a lot throughout that campaign because there were more videos that they made. And also the functional benefits about how this coil can be used for more than 10 hours. At that time, it was a new invention. More than 10 hours a coil being able to use. Now let's look at how this was done recently. Of course, now coils are no longer. They're talking about sprays. Let's see how they did it.
කැරපොත්තෙක්. මේ එකෙක්ම නෙමෙයි. ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා වගේ. නින්ජා ස්ට්‍රයික් එකක් නැද්ද?
දෙන්න. නින්ජා ස්ට්‍රයික් කැරපොත්තන් මර්දනයට.
කෝලා?
So the couple who was there in the end were that old couple from that very first ad in 1998. And the fashion of the young boy and the two young ladies have changed. The way the hairstyle has changed. The product has also changed, but the brand is saying, look, our brand promise is ensuring that one, we give you good products and that whole uniformity. The same ninja quality you saw 25 years ago is what we still have. And that way, a lot of people are now going to share this. You use probably if you have the circles of people. Now, the moment I saw this, I shared this, right? So there are lots of discussions that might come around these advertisements also. So finally, I will take probably 5 more minutes since we started around 5 to 6 minutes later. My last couple of messages is while we think about the balanced element of marketing in terms of both science and arts, just I want you all to be reminded of how is marketing done. So normally marketing is done, there are multiple ways to define this. Of course, if there is a marketing lecture, I can go on and on. But one simple way is how do people get interest into a product? They first get the awareness of it, then they start building an interest, then they have a deep desire for that product. Only then people start buying. So that way, ideally, the balance of it works when initially you have a lot of emotionally driven advertisements and gradually you bring in the scientific based advertisements from the right information to the right scientific tactics to psychological methodology and all that. And that way people start getting more desired to buy you. Because if you only run creative stuff, people will feel the wow, these creative every time. But when it comes to buying, they'll feel, no, let me not buy. I have a more trustworthy brand. Now, how do you build trust? To build trust, you need to also give information. Just because you love someone, trust won't be formed. That's why you see a lot of breakups happening, right? People look at a beautiful person or a good-looking person, they get the awareness, they get the attention, and probably the interest also. See, that's coming from the heart. But then when you start talking to that person, getting to know that person more, you get your scientific side or the logical information. That is how you get more desire and eventually leading up to marriage or something like that, right? So that is one simple way to remember how marketing needs to be done. So I hope you have an answer to the question, what is better? There is no such thing as what is better. Is it art or science? The simple thing is you need to know when you are doing marketing or working in your marketing job, how are you going to do purpose-driven marketing with the right brand promise backed by the right consumer insights, economic, functional, as well as emotional, and balance it throughout this journey that consumers go when it comes to marketing. Finally, I told you in the beginning, I will reveal you the marketing mix, or I told you advertisements is not the only marketing you see. There are multiple other ways marketing can be done. Now, these are the 7 ways marketing can be executed. Of course, promotions is there. Let me first call that out. That is where your advertisements to your discounts and all that comes. Apart from that, good marketing is also in how the product is done, the product quality, the packaging. The moment you go to a supermarket aisle or when you go to a shop, how do you pick? You first want to see a good looking product, especially if it's a face cream or something that you eat. Even in restaurants, that's why they do good Instagram. So you see their product, right? Then only you come and taste it. So the product has to be good. So if a company says our brand promise is giving you tasty products that will give you a joy more than eating home cooked food, when I come to the restaurant, I need to feel that. When I eat the food, I need to feel that. So McDonald's does it very nicely. When people come to the restaurant, they have a nice play area type of settings. Of course, they sometimes have actual play area, or the chairs are colorful. Those who remember McDonald's when it was in Sri Lanka, right? And then they start giving toys for kids. They do these fun competitions. They have balloons, they have masks. They're giving that experience. Then another way is through the price, depending on your brand promise. Sometimes now when Tata Nano came up with the car, they said, okay, we built the cheapest car. They said that is our belief. We believe every Indian, Tata is an Indian company, deserves a car. Of course, there was a side effect. Now they were being very logical, but they sort of failed in the art side or the emotional side of it. What happened? A young man or a woman who would want to buy the nano car didn't want to buy it. Why? It's the cheapest car. Why do I want to buy the cheapest vehicle out there? So this was a big discussion in India at that time, where even the late Mr. Ratan Tata, who just passed away last week or so, was feeling down that the campaign was a product went out because he didn't want to communicate as the cheapest. But the message went out like that because of the price benefit. Because at that time, the economic benefit of vehicles was a big discussion. But while they thought about it logically, remember this slide? They spoke about it logically about being the cheapest car, but they didn't think about the emotional benefit, right? If they said it is a compact car also given at a good price, people may have been more accepting of it. But the main message is, look, come to get the cheapest car, right? That is a good example as to how price can be the front of your marketing sometimes. Place, do you deliver? Now Pizza Hut is or worse or probably is always known for how fast can they deliver, right? Probably one of the pioneers of delivering in Sri Lanka. Place, so they ensured the customers when they want pizza, they can get a pizza to their hand within 20-30 minutes. Whereas up to date, there are some other companies, other restaurants who are big, but they take more than 20, 30, 40 minutes to sometimes prepare their food and sell, right? So there's another way you can get. So are you available online? Do you do delivery? Is it free delivery, island-wide, or how? All those things are about place. So the first 4 things that I've circled are if you are selling products. If you're also selling a service like a salon or education institute, or let's say a bank, then you also have to worry about people. That is why they say when the staff members are bad, how much ever the management is good, people will not come. Imagine you go to a hotel, the receptionist doesn't treat you well, even though you know the CEO personally, you might not go to that hotel again. When you go to the bank, if the teller person, the person at the teller counter doesn't greet you well or give you a good service, then you might start complaining on social media. All the efforts that the marketing team is doing with advertisements or product quality and all that will go down the drain. So that is why people is also an important element. There is a famous saying by Sir Richard Branson, who is a very famous entrepreneur, who is the founder of this conglomerate called the Virgin Group. He said, my job as a CEO is to take care of my employees. They will take care of my customers. So that is how he put people front in this whole way of executing his marketing. Then comes the physical environment. It is very simple. How clean is it? How neat is it? Is it stinky? Is the paint peeling off? All those things. Is there nice music playing when you go to a restaurant or a bank or a supermarket or wherever? Are elements how you can bring that to life. Because if Kiel Supermarkets is promising people a wholesome shopping experience, when people enter the shopping mall or the supermarket, they should feel that ease. The nice music should be playing. The air freshener should be good. When I walk past the fish counter, I can't be smelling fish, right? The fish needs to be properly covered. So the physical environment needs to be done properly. And that is how you can live your brand promise. In the case of Keys, they're saying we deliver a modern, innovative, environmentally friendly supermarket experience, right? And then finally comes process. How easy is to get things. When you go to a bank, how easy is to open a savings account. When you go to, let's say, a theme park, how easy is it to get tickets? How easy is it to find places? All those are part of the process of what you do. And then that is why a lot of banking apps are now sort of promising our banking app is the easiest to use. You stay at home in 2 minutes, you can now create an account. That is where they are promising in the element of process of how to do things. So you need to remember, while we spoke about how marketing needs to be purpose-driven with a strong brand promise, which goes across multiple facets, you need to also remember this can be executed using 7 different tools. Right. And that is my message to you within a short period of just over 1 hour in the topic of marketing, art, or science. Of course, you now know what my answer is. My answer is marketing is not art or science. Marketing is essentially art and science. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, we can take probably 10-15 minutes more to discuss, and then we can call it a day. Do we have any questions? Right, questions you can ask me on the mic or even bring it on the chat, right? Usually participants of these online sessions are a bit shy to ask questions. So that is why I also took that extra 15 minutes for the session itself, but I have time for questions, no problem. I have time till even 5 o'clock if you have questions. It seems like we don't have a question. So I think Zafar, once again, over to you, I believe. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for joining us today for this insightful session. We hope like you guys gained a valuable knowledge on like blending creativity with data-driven strategy in marketing. A big thank you to our speaker, Mr. Shamil Akbar, for sharing his expertise. And also, we are pleased to inform that that the recording of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel soon. And as a special thank you for those who have attended today, we are providing a 25,000 discount to anyone who's planning to join Kensley Graduate School in future. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today.